Sometimes in life, we think power is about raising our voice, about showing toughness, about flexing our muscles. But real power is often about knowing when to hold back, when to honor the bigger picture, when to respect relationships that go deeper than the headlines. And in today's world, there is one relationship that has quietly shifted the balance of global influence. There comes a time when a nation rises not just because of its size, but because of energy, vision, and determination of its people. India today is stepping into that moment. For decades, it was viewed through the lens of potential, as a country that might one day matter more on the world stage. But now that day has arrived. India is no longer just preparing to shine, it is already radiating a light that can't be overlooked. Its story is not just about statistics, though the numbers are impressive. It is about 1 billion dreams converging into a force that is shaping the future of global power, economics, and culture. What makes this rise so extraordinary is its foundation. India's strength does not come only from its massive population, though that in itself is a defining advantage. It comes from the spirit of its youth, hundreds of millions of young minds eager to learn, create, and innovate. This new generation is building a modern India, one that thrives on technology, science, and entrepreneurship. Every app developed, every startup launched, and every breakthrough achieved is a signal to the world. This is a nation on the move, and it's not slowing down. Economically, India is becoming a powerhouse of growth. In a time when many economies are struggling to sustain momentum, India has emerged as one of the fastest growing large economies on the planet. This is not a passing trend. It's the result of years of reform, resilience, and a vision for a future rooted in both progress and sustainability. The world's investors are watching closely, not out of charity or hope, but because they know opportunity when they see it. Culturally, India's rise is equally profound. From cinema to spirituality, from cuisine to creativity, its influence is already felt across continents. This cultural presence weaves threads of familiarity, respect, and admiration, making India not just a partner in global politics, but a presence in people's daily lives everywhere. And when a nation captures both minds and hearts, it holds a different kind of power, a soft power that endures beyond borders. The rising star of India is not just about where it stands today, but where it is heading tomorrow. With its youthful energy, its economic strength, and its growing global influence, it is no longer waiting for acknowledgement. The world has already taken notice, and the future will only make that light shine brighter. When we talk about democracy, the conversation often turns to ideals, freedom, choice, equality, and representation. But in India, democracy isn't just an idea written in a book or a principle debated in halls of power. It is lived every single day by over 1 billion people. The sheer scale of this experiment is breathtaking. Nowhere else on earth does democracy exist in such a vibrant, complex, and diverse form. With hundreds of languages, thousands of communities, and countless traditions, India has shown the world that democracy is not about sameness, but about the power of unity in diversity. This is where India's true strength lies. In a time when democracies across the world are facing challenges, polarization, distrust, and disengagement, India continues to stand as a beacon. Elections in India are not small affairs. They are massive, awe-inspiring demonstrations of people's voices being heard. Millions travel to polling stations, sometimes crossing rivers, mountains, and deserts, just to cast their vote. Every vote carries weight, whether from a farmer in a remote village or a professional in a bustling city. That spirit of participation keeps the system alive and vibrant. The heart of India's democracy is not just in its institutions, though they are robust and time-tested. It is in the people's belief that they matter, that their voice has a place in shaping the nation's path. And that belief spills over into how the world sees India. When India speaks on global platforms, it carries the legitimacy of representing the largest democratic mandate on the planet. That kind of authority cannot be manufactured. It is earned through decades of commitment to upholding democratic values. In many ways, India represents the hope that democracy can thrive even under immense complexity. It proves that governance doesn't have to erase diversity to be effective, that progress can be made while honoring ancient traditions, and that freedom can flourish even in the face of great challenges. This balance makes India not just a participant in the global democratic order, but a leader whose example inspires others. The world is watching as India steps forward, not as a follower of democratic ideals, but as a living, breathing embodiment of them. That heartbeat of democracy, steady and strong, reminds us all that freedom is not fragile when it is rooted in the will of the people. And in India, that will is louder than ever. In today's world, true strength is measured not only by armies or borders, but by the bridges a nation builds through trade, innovation, and opportunity. India has become a living example of this truth. Instead of closing itself off or retreating into isolation, it has embraced the power of connection, creating pathways of commerce that link its destiny with that of the global community. These bridges are not made of steel or stone, but of ideas, partnerships, and the promise of shared prosperity. India's economic rise is no longer a quiet story. It is one of the most defining narratives of our time. With one of the fastest growing large economies, India has become a magnet for investment, entrepreneurship, and innovation. From bustling cities filled with tech startups to rural regions undergoing transformation through digital access, the landscape is shifting in ways that open new opportunities not just for India, but for every nation willing to engage. These are bridges of mutual benefit, where collaboration becomes more valuable than competition. And here's the remarkable part: these bridges extend far beyond trade. They reshape global supply chains, create new markets, and fuel industries that were once struggling to adapt. In a moment when many countries are tempted to build economic walls, India's openness and potential remind the world of a different path: growth through connection. Each partnership signed, each investment secured, each joint venture launched represents not just a transaction, but a thread woven into a larger fabric of interdependence. For nations that wish to work with India, this is not just about economics. It's about aligning with a future that is being built in real time. Walking away or turning toward hostility could mean forfeiting access to one of the most dynamic growth stories of the century. To stay connected with India's economy is to stay connected with the next chapter of global prosperity. These bridges symbolize more than commerce. They are acts of trust. They affirm that even in an uncertain world, collaboration is still the key to progress. India is showing that growth is not a zero-sum game, that success expands when it is shared. And in choosing bridges over walls, it has become not only an economic powerhouse, but also a teacher to the world. When we open doors instead of closing them, we all rise together. Peace in the modern world is not sustained by one voice or one power alone. It is a delicate harmony created when nations choose cooperation over conflict. India has emerged as a central player in this balance, not by demanding attention, but by steadily building partnerships that prioritize stability and mutual respect. In an age where uncertainty looms large, from shifting alliances to rising tensions, India's role has become that of a bridge builder, creating bonds that remind the world peace is always possible when collaboration takes precedence. Strategic partnerships are not just about defense deals or treaties on paper. They are about trust, about nations recognizing that their futures are safer and stronger when they stand together. India has cultivated relationships with global powers not as a follower, but as an equal voice. By aligning with partners across continents, it has positioned itself as both a regional stabilizer and a global contributor. Whether in tackling security challenges, ensuring the free flow of trade, or addressing climate change, India has shown that peace is not maintained by isolation, but by being fully engaged with the world. One of India's most significant strengths lies in its ability to balance relationships without falling into extremes. It can work with East and West, North and South, without losing its independent voice. This unique position allows it to act as a mediator, a connector, and at times a calming force in a turbulent world. For allies, this makes India not just a strategic partner, but a reliable one. Its choices are not driven by impulse, but by the long-term vision of building a secure and cooperative global environment. At the heart of these partnerships is a recognition that peace cannot be taken for granted. It must be nurtured through dialogue, trade, cultural exchange, and shared responsibility. India's growing influence means that it is no longer on the sidelines of these conversations. It is shaping them. And the message it carries is clear. Peace is strongest when it is shared, when it belongs not to one nation, but to all who invest in it. In choosing the path of partnership over provocation, India is not only safeguarding its own people, but also contributing to a global legacy of stability. It is proving that true power lies not in how much conflict one can win, but in how much peace one can preserve. Respect in international relationships is no longer something that can be demanded from a position of dominance. It must be earned, nurtured, and reciprocated. For decades, the global order was shaped by one-sided arrangements, where powerful nations dictated the terms and others simply followed. But that world is shifting. India's rise has introduced a new balance, one that insists respect must flow both ways. This is not about defiance, it is about recognition. Recognition that India is no longer a silent participant in global affairs, but a confident voice that cannot be overlooked. The change has been gradual yet unmistakable. Where once India was seen as a market to tap or a partner to manage, it is now acknowledged as a force shaping the global agenda. Its economic growth, its technological strides, and its demographic strength have made it indispensable. But beyond numbers and influence, what commands respect is India's insistence on dignity, the idea that any partnership must be rooted in equality, not hierarchy. That shift alters the very fabric of how diplomacy is conducted. This balance of respect means that decisions are no longer made unilaterally by one side expecting the other to comply. It means dialogue, negotiation, and compromise are essential. It also signals that global powers must now approach India not with assumptions, but with an understanding that its interests, values, and priorities matter just as much as their own. That realization has transformed India's position from a receiver of influence to a co-creator of the global narrative. What makes this especially powerful is that India does not seek respect through aggression or intimidation. Instead, it gains it through resilience, consistency, and the quiet strength of standing firm in its choices. Whether it is in matters of trade, defense, or global leadership, India has shown that respect is not a privilege granted by others, but a reality created by self, confidence, and perseverance. The world is adjusting to this new reality. No longer can anyone afford to treat India as secondary or peripheral. The balance has tipped toward partnership rather than patronage, toward collaboration rather than command. And in that balance lies a lesson for all of us. Respect, when mutual, creates not only stronger relationships, but also a more stable and just world. India has stepped fully into that space, and the world is learning to meet it there. At the end of the day, what we've witnessed is not just a shift in politics or economics, but a transformation in how the world understands power, respect, and possibility. India's story is not simply about rising numbers or growing influence. It is about teaching us that real strength comes from dignity, unity, and vision. It reminds us that bridges are stronger than walls, that peace lasts longer than conflict, and that respect is never granted by force but earned through resilience.